Hello and welcome to Mark's Woodworking Challenges. I'm Mark, your host, in case that wasn't already obvious. And today we have a new video on a power tool technique. Okay, so you might recall at the beginning of the year, roughly, I made a video about my new table saw sled, and that table saw sled, as well as this drill press table, were the result of a New Year's resolution that I made to replace all of my crappy old power tool fixtures and replace them with ones that were more accurate, more square, and built to better standards than what I had 20 years ago. So that's today's video, my new drill press table. All right, so let's take a quick tour of the table itself. We've got a fence, we've got a table, and you can see we've got T-track on the fence and 4 T-tracks in the table. The outer 2 T-tracks are mainly for adjusting the fence. The inner 2 are mainly for doing things that, like holding things against the fence or things of that nature. We're going to go into accessories for this in just a minute, so you'll get a better idea on that. So one of the things I seriously needed to correct from my old table is, the general flatness. That's in my old table. I started out when it was new. I thought, well, there's so much empty space under here that I'll put 2 drawers to put the drill bits and various things in. So I had a drawer here and a drawer here, and totally ignored the engineering aspects of that, which was that once I loaded those 2 drawers up with several pounds of drill press accessories, the table just went like that. And okay, I shored it up and that made it better, but it was never really good after that. So feature number 1, a table that is more or less planar. It's not perfect, but it's a heck of a lot better than the old one. Feature number 2, the fence. I had about a 2.5 by 2.5 piece of Doug fir on here with some channels routed in it to fasten things to it. It was not square to the table. It leaned back a little bit, and that just made it difficult to do accurate drill press work. And in fact, that's what kicked off the New Year's resolution. Is I had a project where I needed to do a perfectly perpendicular hole, and it took me about a half an hour to rig up to do that because of my inadequate fence. And so that was when I stepped back and said to myself, holy cow, this thing is crap. I've got to fix this. Then I thought, it's not just the drill press table, it's all my stuff. So at any rate, that was where the New Year's resolution came from, is taking a half an hour to do something that should have taken me only 2 minutes to do. But the new fence is so much nicer. It is actually, in fact, pretty darn square to the table, at least for right now. I mean, that is as close to perfect as it's humanly possible to get, I think. So that is a decided improvement. Okay, feature number 3. I've got a little bracket back here that holds the key. So much nicer. I've tried all those things they have in the magazines. I had a lanyard here that the key would hang on. That didn't work. The lanyards are made out of plastic and they just don't hold up. And I tried putting a hole in there and sticking this thing in the hole. That didn't work. It just filled up with crap, and then I had to clean it out occasionally. But now I have got a nice little bracket here to hold my key. The fence is a lot easier to adjust. We're going to go ahead and take it off now so that you can see what makes it tick. So here you have it. 2 layers of Baltic birch ply here, a piece of plywood on the bottom, reinforcement right here in the center to make it, hopefully make it stay, close to a right angle. And then what I realized is that I need to do all my drill press adjustments from the front. I mean, you don't want to make it hard to use. And so I raised these knobs up off of the base of the fence so that I can, and then I angled the edge of the fence here like this. It's far away from the middle, so you don't need a lot of height out here, so that I can bring my hands over like this and pretty easily adjust the fence. Okay, that's the fence. Here's the table. I've already commented on the T-track, so that's won't go into that any further. In all my new jigs that I'm making, I'm putting in a sacrificial fence, or no, sacrificial plate here under the working end of the tool, in this case the drill, so that when inevitably you're going to drill into it, and so now I can just unscrew it and put a new one in whenever I need. I don't often take this thing off the table, but it is nice to, if it's easy. So in this case, I just do that, and it comes right off the table. So what you see here is that I've got the table outlined underneath here with an L-shaped piece bracket right here, so that basically it just clips into the drill press table. So now when I put it back in, I line it up and put it back in, and it settles right down and it's ready to go. Okay, so that's the basics of the new table. Before I go into the accessories, there was one thing I forgot to mention, possibly because it's so obvious that I thought it slipped my mind. But on both the metal table and with this table installed, I carefully checked with a straight rod chucked into the drill press, into the chuck here, to make sure that the table was square. The steel table and the wood table was square to the chuck. So that way the table's square to the drill, the fence is square to the table, so when you do a hole and have the fence here, you should be perfectly parallel, so it all lines up. You have to, I would show that on camera, but it's such a finicky little thing you wouldn't be able to see it anyway. But I did do that test. Alright, so now we're going to go into the various accessories. Basic accessory number 1, a scrap wood used as a sacrificial hole, sacrificial bottom for the holes. If you want a sacrificial board that bolts down, you can do this. Another scrap piece of board from the archives. One nice thing about making all these fixtures at one time is, for the first time in my life, the distance between this fence and the table is the same in all my fixtures. Hallelujah. So now I can use the same stops in all the fixtures, and I don't have a unique set for each power tool. What a radical concept, eh? So we got stops, you know, if we need to set a distance away from the drill bit. I've got even a fancier pair. I won't put them in, but in these two, I carefully jointed the end of these to be perfectly perpendicular, as indicated, you can see there, so that when I fasten them to the fence, I can put something in here. It'll be right angled in this direction, but because these are also perfectly square in this direction, it basically will be right angled. It'll be perpendicular to the fence in all dimensions, and so that works out well. So that is a nice accessory. Sometimes, you know, you need a tall fence, but sometimes you got to have something so close to it that the chuck interferes with the fence. So in that case, you need a low fence. There's one that I made. And that way I can just take this fence off, put this one on, and I can still put something against the edge there and orient it relative to the drill bit. If I need to press on something against the fence, I got this crude thing here, sandpaper on this side. You put it in here and you press it in there, and that'll keep things from sliding back and forth on you when you're trying to drill. I used to have a mortising bit for this thing. I decided I didn't like it, actually, but I adapted it to be usable on the table. So I wouldn't say that I use this very much. There are simpler solutions than setting this thing up. Once in a while it's what you really need, but frankly I don't use it that often. Another handy little feature that I made is I have these small little hold down clamps. So I've got a metal strip there. You can put this in the T-track. I made it a close fit, so it might stand a little bit. But you see that it goes in there, slides in there like that, and then you can hold something down like that with proper adjustment. There. And so that, you see, is a nice, easy to use hold down if you ever need it. And that's about it in the way of accessories. So, in conclusion, this is my new drill press table. Part 2 of the New Year's resolution, check. I'm very happy with it, and I think it'll serve me well for years to come. So if you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the section below. If you like this video, please consider subscribing or hitting the like button. And without further ado, we'll see you next time on Mark's Woodworking Challenges.